Kittle is a company that generated about $10.8 million last year in revenue. It's pretty interesting because they've raised about $36 million. So the question is how did they actually make it happen? Welcome everybody to my YouTube channel here. I teach you guys how to create your SaaS, how to build your SaaS, how to promote your SaaS and make money off your SaaS. And today we're going to be talking about Kittle. I'll be sharing with you how I actually learned about this company, how they make their money, and more importantly, how you can do it too. So let's kind of talk about this. Since I'm kind of sharing information on marketing and SaaS, Kittle has one thing that is very, very special about Kittle. They know how to use the power of influencers very, very well, and they're not afraid to make the upfront investment. They're essentially not going to take no for an answer when it comes down to, you as a influencer to get you on board. Let me kind of explain what I mean. Back when I was creating videos for another platform on YouTube, another channel on YouTube, one of my side hustle type channels, I had a email that came into my inbox about 2 years ago from a company called Kittle. This was the exact company. Their whole marketing concept was that they're an alternative to the software Canva. If you're familiar with Canva, Canva is just a simple drag and drop online website that you can go on and create different graphic designs. Well, Kittle was kind of tailored to the print-on-demand designer community. People who design different products, people design t-shirts. This is kind of who they're kind of, set up for. The only thing that makes the Kittle different is that there's this, you can call it an online marketplace, but it's really just a bunch of templates that other people have created, and that kind of system is curated through their algorithm. And basically, their algorithm is controlled mostly by a favoriting system. So the more people that favorite, a certain design that another creator creates, the higher it is in this quote-unquote algorithm. And the nice thing about Kittle is you can use that very template. You can use that very design for your own design, so you don't have to necessarily go out there and create more designs. The thing that was genius about Kittle is how they actually got people to figure out who they are. They went to top influencers. I was one of them in a certain space online, and they essentially, paid you to make these videos. And after they paid you, they switched over to a system of an affiliate marketing type promotional system. When I say that they went to pretty much every large influencer, that's exactly what they did. On my other channel, I have about 46,000 subscribers at the time, and they emailed me, and they just emailed everyone else in my, you could say, cohort, right? And that's what they did. They focused very, very highly on internet-based marketing. And for them, it really was a very, very strong marketing approach, dare I even say guerrilla marketing approach, because what happened is they didn't just message me, they messaged, like I said, everybody in my class, in my sphere, if you will, in that niche. They messaged them simultaneously, they made them an offer that they couldn't refuse, they paid the influencers, and of course the influencers promoted them. Me personally, I was on I guess you could say a plan or an agreement to publish a video a week for 3 videos for a total of $500. Now, I had a total of 46,000 subscribers, but overall it was pretty decent. I was promoting something that was like I said, an alternative to Canva. Unfortunately, some influencers, which I will not name, kind of turned their back on Kittle because of their approach. At first, they were paying influencers a really hefty fee to get mentioned and get promoted and even have a whole dedicated video on the channel, on these creators' channels. But then over time, Kittle started building their own channel and hired their own creators for their own channel. And then what they did, which once again frustrated certain kind of creators, is they switched over from a payment directly for a video, but they switched over to an affiliate concept. So instead of you getting paid for the video you once created, you're now an affiliate. But the concept or, the marketing is already done. People already know about the company, right? And so instead of, like I said, paying you, they already done it, people know who they are, they just offer the affiliate approach. Now, Canva, the alternative at the time, was not a company that really was, it was more reluctant, put it that way, to give you affiliate approval. So if people applied to Canva, which is their main competitor, to, be an affiliate on that company, Canva actually rejected most people to be an affiliate. That's kind of where Kittle rose, right? Because if you weren't big enough as an influencer to actually get paid from the company initially, it was still something that was so hot and so interesting at the time that, you would sign up to be an affiliate. And at the time, in the very beginning, I believe they were paying 25 cents, or no, it was 15 cents per sign up, right? And then they switched over from per sign up to per person who became a payer. And then this was a system where they would give you a special link and you would post it, and there would effectively be no way for you to track it. Now, this happened, like I said, over time. They started building their platform out. They started paying people for the videos, and then after that, that's when things halted. I'm sure they still pay people till today, but that's probably the very, very large, YouTubers or influencers that have a lot more reach. So what can we learn from Kittle? Well, the first thing is, if you want to grow very, very fast, you're going to have deep pockets. Now, you guys know me in the SaaS game. Something that I kind of promote is the idea of freedom, financial freedom, working, but also relaxing at the same time. The SaaS world does allow you to do that pretty effectively, because you can create an application that generates, let's say, anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 MRR a month, and you can kind of relax. You can build the new product, and it's a perfectly fine thing to do. In this case, Kittle wasn't a solopreneur ran product. It was in an industry that was cemented its competition. Canva was something that people really couldn't turn their face away from. If you use Canva, you probably are going to stick to using Canva. And so they had to figure out creative things to add to Kittle that would allow them to emerge among, the giants, which in this case is Canva. So there's no real huge competition to Canva. Don't get me wrong. There's other SaaS products like Simplified or Crello, which is Vista Create, that also are in the same realm of Canva, but they don't measure up in terms of competition. You have Affinity Designer that Canva acquired, which you can call it competition. You have GIMP, but once again, people are much more willing to pay for Canva, shell out the $12 to $15 a month, than go through the hassle of having to use and manipulate multiple different softwares. So Kittle was up its own fight with Canva. Canva is a company that generates over 100 million revenue a year, so it's pretty significant. And so what the game plan was, at least from an outsider's perspective, somebody who's an influencer for Kittle, was, hey, let's find the biggest influencers. Let's all pay them at around the same time. Let's make them, essentially post these videos. And then once we get all the attention, we'll build our own YouTube channel so we can consistently get our own attention, and then just offer them an affiliate deal after, right? Essentially, and I hate to say this, but this is true, the influencers have no real power over commanding a payment fee for their videos. In fact, I'm not going to name who the influencer was, but there was a certain influencer that grew frustrated with the way that Kittle was not paying them anymore. So in a angered rage, they have made an exposing video about Kittle, but yet complaining that, maybe their support wasn't good, or, the interaction with their affiliate agent wasn't good, and they came up with any kind of excuse to bash the company. Now, of course, the company still stood true, still produced income, did very well still. But the thing that I find funny about that very same influencer who was promoting Kittle, one of their marketing tactics to promote Kittle at the time was to put on this whole facade or charade that Canva was not allowing people in the industry to use their service for print on demand, for design, things like that. And I thought that was quite interesting. And they used that marketing scheme to make it seem like Canva was a bad software and that you don't have the legal right to use it, and so that you should use Kittle instead. And they had this whole kind of delete Canva kind of mantra, and they had this whole campaign that they were running just to get more signups through their affiliate links, plus, the paid sponsors that they were getting from Kittle. Kittle, like I said, grew very quickly over a period of a year. And like I said, they hired pretty much every influencer under the sun that had a decent size, and they paid them for their videos. I know that because I speak personally. They paid me. And after that, they just stopped paying. I'm sure they still pay, but some people, but they definitely don't pay everybody. And that's kind of how they grew. So, like I said, what can we really learn from this? If you build a SaaS and you want to grow, one of the things that you should do is you should have your own asset. You should have your own YouTube channel, should have your own blog, right? You should have your own way of connecting with viewers. That would be the first thing. The second thing is don't be afraid to pay people. The rate at which you pay people to create content, your influencers, is the rate at which you'll be promoted faster and greater. The next thing that I thought was also quite interesting is when I was working with these agents at Kittle, when they were trying to hire me to produce videos for them, they were very specific as to what they wanted, what they needed. They were specific around the text that needed to be in the titles of the videos. They were specific around the content that needed to be in the video. They were ultra specific around what they wanted to see in the videos. In fact, there were times where the agent would tell me, no, fix this or do this or add that. And they would actually require for you to show them the video before it goes out hand. Now, that's actually quite normal, but it does ring true that if you're going to be hiring an influencer, paying someone to promote your micro SaaS, it's a good idea to remember the fact that you're paying them. You have the right to make your own decisions on how you want that content to be viewed. And you also have the right to determine how you want the content to be set up. If there's a certain thumbnail style that you want, or if there's a certain title style, or if there's a certain type of piece of content or a scene that you want in that video, technically you have the right to ask for it. You're paying for that video to be produced. There's nothing wrong with that. And so I'm not here to bash Kittle. I have nothing negative to say. They're a great company that produces, business for many people. And they themselves are paid handsomely for it, and probably their investors as well. So, Kittle's doing well. In the first 2 years, for them to generate 1/3 of their total investment value, it shows that over a period of, let's say 10 years, Kittle will easily pay back their investors and make more than enough money. In fact, I actually checked, I think last year, the revenue per employee, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think the revenue per employee was about $144,000, and then it jumped down to about $74,000 or $77,000, which is still pretty good. If you think about how many employees are in a company to make a company run and how much you're going to be paying them, you're probably not going to be paying every single employee $144,000 or even $70,000, right? Especially if you're in a foreign country. I don't know exactly where Kittle is based out of, but I know it's for a fact it's not based in the United States, Canada, Australia, the United Kingdom. It's not based in any of those countries. It's actually based in one of the European countries. I just can't remember which one. But the point is that this is a company that put some minds together, figured out what the trend was, which was at the time, it was influencers on YouTube, paid them, and once again, was paid handsomely for it. So if you're creating a SaaS, try out these different tips. Hopefully this video was informative to you. A little bit of insider information there for you. Could potentially help you build your SaaS. And hey, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, leave them in the comments down below. And I'm happy to communicate with you guys down there. And feel free to ask any kind of questions you want. And also, if you're new to the channel, welcome. This is a brand new channel with new content on SaaS. So hopefully you enjoy, and good luck on your SaaS journey.